Imagine a summer day so violent, so filled with death, that it would be remembered for thousands of years. This was the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE. On that single dreadful day, more soldiers died than on any other day in European history until the First World War. The fields of southern Italy turned red. It was a scene of almost unimaginable slaughter. The Roman Republic, the greatest power in the Mediterranean, suffered a blow that would have destroyed any other nation. It was a day that tested Rome to its very core and became a legend in the history of warfare, a terrifying example of military genius and brutal efficiency. The sheer scale of the killing is hard to comprehend. Some historians believe that nearly 50,000 Roman soldiers were killed in just a few hours. That's hundreds of men dying every single minute. The noise must have been deafening. The screams of the wounded, the clash of swords on shields, the shouted commands of officers, all mixed into a terrible symphony of destruction. For the men trapped in the fighting, it was hell on earth. There was no escape. This was not just a battle, it was an annihilation, a masterclass in destruction delivered by one of history's greatest commanders, Hannibal Barca of Carthage. This event wasn't just a random act of violence, it was the highest point of a huge conflict that had been brewing for decades. The battle itself was the result of years of planning, marching, and smaller fights. Hannibal had brought his army on an incredible journey over the Alps, surprising the Romans completely. He had already beaten them in 2 major battles before Cannae, but this time Rome was determined to stop him for good. They gathered a massive army, the largest they had ever put into the field, to crush the Carthaginian invader and end the war once and for all. The conflict between Rome and Carthage was a struggle for control of the ancient world. They were the 2 superpowers of the Mediterranean Sea. Rome, a republic on the Italian peninsula, was a land power. Their strength was its legions, disciplined armies of citizen soldiers. They were expanding their territory, conquering neighbors and growing stronger every year. Their ambition, control all of Italy and beyond, organized, determined. A seemingly endless supply of soldiers to call upon when needed. On the other side of the sea, on the coast of modern-day Tunisia, was Carthage. Carthage was a great sea power. Its strength came from its navy and its vast trading network across the Mediterranean. Brilliant sailors and merchants, a wealthy, bustling city. Their army was mainly hired professional soldiers, mercenaries. Spain, North Africa, Gaul, the first clash, the first Punic War. A long, brutal war fought mostly at sea over Sicily. Rome had to build a navy from scratch to compete. After more than 20 years, Rome won. Rome took Sicily and forced Carthage to pay huge reparations. The defeat was a deep humiliation for Carthage. It stoked anger and desire for revenge, especially in the Barca family. Enter Hannibal, his father, Hamilcar Barca, a famed Carthaginian general of the First Punic War. Legend Hamilcar made young Hannibal swear an oath to hate Rome forever. Hannibal took the oath to heart. As the sun rose on that August day in 216 BCE, 2 massive armies faced each other across a dusty plain near the town of Cannae. The Roman army was enormous. They had brought together around 86,000 men, a force of unprecedented size for the Republic. It was made up of 8 Roman legions and a similar number of allied troops from other Italian states. This was Rome's ultimate weapon, designed to overwhelm and crush any enemy through sheer numbers and the disciplined force of heavy infantry. They were confident, perhaps too confident. The Roman army was commanded by 2 consuls, Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro. They were the highest elected officials in Rome, and they rotated command of the army each day. Paulus was an experienced and cautious general. He was wary of Hannibal's skills and wanted to avoid a major battle on open ground. Varro, on the other hand, was ambitious and aggressive. He was eager to fight and win a glorious victory for Rome. On the day of the battle, it was Varro who was in command. Facing this huge Roman force was Hannibal's army. It was much smaller, numbering around 50,000 men, but what it lacked in numbers, it made up for in experience and diversity. Hannibal's army was a mix of soldiers from many different lands, a truly multinational force. He had tough, battle-hardened infantry from North Africa, his best and most loyal troops. Hannibal knew that a straightforward fight against the massive Roman legions would be suicide. The Romans were famous for their powerful central infantry, which would march forward like a wall and smash through anything in its path. So Hannibal designed a brilliant and risky plan to counter this. His strategy was a trap, a carefully laid snare designed to lure the Romans in and then destroy them. It was a plan that required perfect timing, incredible discipline from his troops, and a deep understanding of his enemy's mindset. He was about to conduct one of the most famous tactical maneuvers in military history. His battle line looked strange, almost weak. In the center, he placed his least reliable troops, Spanish infantry. In the center, he placed his least reliable troops, Gallic infantry. He arranged them in a crescent shape bulging forward towards the Roman army. This crescent was designed to be the bait. Hannibal knew that when the powerful Roman legions advanced, they would push this weaker center back. He was counting on it. He wanted the Romans to believe they were winning, to surge forward with confidence and push deeper and deeper into his formation, chasing what they thought was a retreating and breaking enemy line. While the center was designed to give way, the real strength of Hannibal's army was hidden on the sides or flanks. Here he placed his best soldiers, the veteran African infantry. These were highly trained and disciplined troops, armed and equipped in the Roman style with armor and weapons captured in previous battles. They were positioned in deep columns, held back from the main line, almost hidden from the Romans' view. Their job was to wait, to hold their position while the center bent backwards, and to be ready to strike at the perfect moment. The final piece of his plan involved his cavalry, which was far superior to the Roman cavalry. On one wing he placed his heavy Spanish cavalry. On that wing he had Gallic heavy cavalry. They were led by his brother Hasdrubal. On the other wing were the light, fast Numidian cavalry. Their job was to defeat the Roman cavalry on the flanks quickly and decisively. Once the Roman horsemen were driven from the field, Hannibal's cavalry would be free. They could then sweep around to the back of the Roman army, completing the trap. While the Roman infantry pushed forward into the center, a decisive action was happening on the wings. Hannibal's heavy cavalry under Hasdrubal charged the Roman cavalry. They completely overwhelmed them. The Roman horsemen were no match for the more skilled, battle-hardened Carthaginians. After a short, brutal fight, the Roman cavalry on that flank broke and fled. Hasdrubal did not chase far. He showed discipline. He rallied his men and led them across the back of the battlefield. They moved to support the Numidian cavalry fighting the other wing. With Hasdrubal attacking from behind, the remaining Roman cavalry was quickly defeated and scattered. The field was clear of Roman horsemen. Hannibal's cavalry controlled the flanks and the area behind the Roman army. The Roman legionaries, packed tightly and pushing into Hannibal's center, were unaware of the doom galloping toward their rear. They were focused on the fight in front of them. Their line of retreat was about to be cut off. The trap was almost shut. Then the final parts of Hannibal's plan locked into place. As the Romans pushed deep into the pocket, Hannibal gave the signal. His elite African infantry waiting on the flanks turned inwards. They attacked the sides of the overextended Roman column. Suddenly the Romans were attacked from the front, from their left, and from their right. At the same time, Hannibal's victorious cavalry wheeled and charged into the rear. The ring of steel had closed. The entire Roman army was surrounded. Panic and horror spread through the ranks. They were trapped, nowhere to run. The massive formation that was their strength became their tomb. Soldiers were packed so tightly they could barely lift their arms. The Carthaginians pushed in from all sides, slaughtering the helpless Romans. The killing went on for hours, a massacre. By day's end, the field was covered with tens of thousands of bodies. The great Roman army had ceased to exist. It was the most complete victory in military history, Rome's most terrible